So this is an early review of the iWatch. Over the last couple of weeks, I've got to spend a total of about 15 hours, which I think is enough time to give an early review and early impression of the iWatch. I'm eagerly awaiting the actual watch to drop through my letterbox, my own one, over the next couple of days now. We're only a couple of days away from the official release. So let's start off with the look and feel of the watch. As you can see, the screen is gorgeous. It was the first thing that took me by surprise, was just how beautiful the screen was. Um, One major problem I realized very soon was that every time you put your thumb on the screen, it's a real fingerprint magnet. It's not so much of an issue with an iPhone because there's so much screen to look at. But when there's just over 4 centimeters of screen, you put your thumb down a couple of times and you have to wipe away at the screen because it makes the screen look really mucky with all those fingerprints on it. As you can see again, text messaging, very easy to read. Again, thanks to the nice screen. Um, I did find pressing reply or pressing a button, I sometimes needed to press it more than once. Maybe this is something I'll get used to over time. I do like the crown on the side, which always brings you back to the home menu, makes it a little bit easier to zoom in and out of stuff. Now, pinch and zoom does not work on the screen. They prefer for you to use the crown. As far as the rest of the look and feel of the watch goes, as I said, the screen's beautiful. The one that I ordered, that I got to wear at the Apple Store as well, is the Sports Edition. And the problem I have with the Sports Edition one is the band just feels really, to me it felt really plasticky and tacky. So if I do decide to keep the watch, it's something I'll definitely want to change or upgrade in the future. The band didn't wrap around the wrist properly. The top edge near the bezel was sticking up a little bit, just making it look not quite right. However, the guy at the Apple Store told me over time it will conform to your wrist. I'm not sure how true that is. As you can see again from the video, I tried to pinch and zoom and it didn't work. The reason I'm pressing down on the screen so hard is because sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Apparently, the harder you press, it brings up different functions. Again, something that sometimes worked, sometimes I found it didn't work so well. The GPS, as you can see, was something that I was really interested in, especially considering with the haptic feedback that gives you a little tap on the wrist, not having to hold your phone in your hand when you're walking to somewhere you haven't been before. Instead, you can have the watch in your pocket and it gives you a little tap to turn left or double tap to turn right, and it makes it easier, and you don't have to worry about holding the phone in your hand as you're walking around in busy streets, which is always a good thing. One thing that did disappoint me though was that, as you can see with the maps, now you need to have your phone on you. May not be an issue for some people, but as I go into the sports app here, for me this is one of the main things that I was going to get the the iWatch for, was that I could put the iWatch on, leave my phone at home, go for a run without having to worry about having this clunky thing in my pocket. I always try to run as light as possible. I only ever take just one key for the main lock of the house, put my phone in my pocket, and I thought having this would eliminate the need to carry my phone. This could go straight on my wrist. However, there was a problem with that. It will record your calories, it will record how many steps you took and how fast you ran, etc. But it won't do one thing which I love that the iPhone does, and that's that it won't allow you to it won't track your location, it won't track your run. So with the iPhone, if you use the Nike app, it will show you exactly where you ran on a map. Some parts of the map will be green, some parts of your run will be red. That way you can see how fast you ran at what stage and what stages you struggled, and you can even see if that improves over time. You do not get a GPS location with the iWatch unless you have the iPhone in your pocket at the same time, which is a bit of a disappointment. And talking about that, let's talk about what you can do with the iWatch when you don't have your iPhone with you. You can listen to music, even though it's got just under 7 gig free memory. You can store up to 2 gig worth of music on it. You need to connect to it with a Bluetooth headset. Now, the problem that I found is when I tried the Bluetooth headset, I listened to about 9 or 10 songs on it, and when I did, on more than one occasion, there was dropout. The music would cut off, or on one occasion, it just dropped out completely, and I had to restart the connection, which is really disappointing. Now, what I have on the screen at the moment is the pay system that they have. If you're in the UK, this is next to useless. And again, if you see the amount of times during this video that not in that specific app, but in different apps, the amount of times during the video where I have to click on one thing more than once in order to get it to come up. And again, this is just the drawbacks of having a smaller screen. So let's move on to the next thing, the actual replying to texts and emails. Now, through emails, you can actually view photos in the email. I couldn't figure out how to, as you can see, couldn't figure out how to actually get those photos to either be able to save. Emails, you can flag, unread, or trash. You can't actually reply to any emails, which was pretty disappointing for me. Sometimes maybe using Siri to reply, since the Siri functions in the iWatch would have been nice, but you can't do that. Now, text messages, you can reply. There's a bunch of generic replies, and you can reply by using Siri to, use your voice, which worked on and off. I mean, it's just like Siri on your iPhone. If you say a text, it will likely get 80% of it right and mess up the other 20%. So if it's an important text, you'll probably reach into your pocket anyway. And in terms of music, we've covered the problems with the Bluetooth that I experienced. The haptic feedback, which I was really eager to try out, is something that I was kind of disappointed in. I mean, the way Apple made it sound, someone tapping on your wrist, it just felt like a vibration to me. It just felt the same way as if I put my iPhone on vibrate and held it to my wrist. It certainly did not feel like someone was tapping me with a finger. It felt like a vibration. So that's as far as the haptic feedback goes. Other than that, I was looking through the menu and I was really struggling to find too many apps. I mean, I know these are early days, but as far as the pre-installed apps go, there's not really too much to write home about. You can read your text messages and stuff, as I said, but again, the one thing that really disappointed me is how little you could do with the iWatch without having your iPhone within a 30-foot radius of your iWatch. So if you go out for a run and you're thinking, I'll leave my phone at home, that's not how it's going to work. As you can see here, I had to press reply 3 times, which is the issue that I talked about earlier. I had to press reply 3 times before I actually registered it. But yeah, as I was saying, the main issue that I have is how little you can do without an iPhone. Yeah, you can listen to music, but you'll need to buy a pair of Bluetooth headsets, and they won't be as reliable as your normal, plugging in your headphones into your iPhone goes. Yes, you can use it to register your heart rate as you run and record how fast you ran and where you ran and, for how long you ran. But again, it won't record or register it on a map, which is very useful for a lot of runners, something that the iPhone does. So you'll need to have your iPhone with you. For a lot of the stuff, you'll end up having to have your iPhone with you, which kind of, I mean, I'm not usually a watch wearer, which kind of makes me wonder how long I'll keep this for, and after the novelty of having a new Apple device wears off, if it's really worth it. To be honest with you, my hands-on time has really killed my buzz in terms of, having the iPhone drop through my letterbox in the next couple of days. It's kind of killed my buzz. I really recommend people to go to an Apple store and try it out, and remember, you've got 14 days to return it in most countries. Might be worth holding on to that receipt, because at the end of the day, even though I've only got to spend around 20 hours with this device, I'm sure the full review, which will be up in around the week, will, I'll go into a lot more depth about each individual feature. But we're looking at it now, once the novelty of a new trendy Apple device wears off, I kind of think to myself, is this something that I'll be holding on to? Because when I go for a run, I'm not usually a watch wearer anyway. When I go for a run, I will take my iPhone. I'll have to still take my iPhone because I want to know where I'm running, and I want to know at what places I slowed down and what places I sped up, and it will give me more feedback taking my iPhone than it would taking my iWatch, for example. So that's one thing. If I'm replying to an important text message and I want to get everything right, or I'm in a busy room where I can't use Siri or I can't use one of the generic replies, then I'll have to get my phone out anyway. If I want to reply to an email, I'll have to get my phone out because you can't even choose to reply to an email using Siri. If I want to use the pictures, show people pictures, I have to have my phone with me. I'll take my phone out and I'll show them a picture on a nice big screen. It doesn't have a web browser in it, which a lot of other smartwatches do. As you can see again, I was wiping away at the screen with my thumb because after a couple of presses it gets dirty pretty quickly. In terms of the battery life, I mean, there's already watches coming out from other companies which are going to have up to a 30-day battery life. This you'll need to charge every single night. So at the end of the day, is this anything more than a phase or a fashion accessory? Is the, is the appeal of it going to wear off quickly, especially for those who don't usually wear a watch? Well, I'm going to have another week's hand-on time with this. I'm going to be wearing mine around everywhere I go, and we'll give you a full review in a week and let you know exactly what we think of it.